Hi friends, we've got a great story today. It's Mooshka, a quilt story by Julie Pashkus. Look at all the beautiful quilt illustrations all the way around. Isn't it lovely? Carla had an unusual quilt. She called it Mooshka. Mooshka kept her warm on cold nights and had a nice toasty smell. Its colors and patterns made her room bright and cheery, even on the rainiest of days. If there was something scary under the bed, it snuggled tight around her and made her feel safe. But that wasn't why Carla's quilt was unusual. Mooshka was different because it could talk to her. At bedtime, Mooshka always said, "Sweet dreams," and first thing in the morning, Mooshka might say, "Pancakes." Carla's grandmother had made the quilt from scraps of old fabric that she called schnitz, and she sewed the pieces together, and she told Carla stories. If Carla couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, she would put her hand on a schnitz and it would tell her a story. Mooshka would go on until Carla was fast asleep. Every bit of fabric had a different way of speaking. The yellow schnitz spoke of soft, cottony voice. I was a tablecloth at Grandmother's farmhouse, which was all right, especially when something sweet was spilled. I was glad to be useful, but once when your Aunt Marjorie was a girl, she made me into a tent and told fortunes beneath my golden folds. Now that was glorious. The blue schnitz had a sturdy voice. Grandpa Will lived on the other side of the mountain. He walked for 3 days over the hills and asked Lily Jane to marry him. I was the kerchief around his neck. When he reached the apple orchard, he went right up to her and said, "I'm yours, now or never." And he wiped his brow with me and didn't leave until she said yes. The red schnitz spoke in a cheery tone. When your mother was just your age, she thought she could fly. She made me into a cape and jumped out of the cherry tree. Such fun! I fluttered and flapped in the wind. She broke her toe, but that wasn't my fault. Carla loved listening to the stories. Sometimes she would talk about something the quilt had told her, and her mother would say, "Now, how did you know that?" One day, a little white crib was moved into Carla's room. Hannah was in the crib. That night, Mooshka didn't say a word, not even sweet dreams. Carla could think of many words: unfair, stinky, my room. But Mooshka was silent. Night after night, Carla would put her hand on a schnitz, hoping for a story, but Mooshka kept quiet. Carla tried to start the stories. Do you remember when you were the curtains in Dad's old sailboat? Do you remember when you were a Halloween costume for the dog? But Mooshka didn't speak. Once in the middle of the night, Hannah started to cry. She cried and cried. Carla squeezed her eyes shut and put her hands over her ears, but she could still hear Hannah's crying. Carla got out of bed. She picked up her quilt and carried it to the crib. She puffed Mooshka up in the air and let it float gently down over Hannah. "Sister," said Mooshka. Hannah stopped crying and began to smile. Carla put her hand on a green schnitz and whispered, "This is from the pajamas I wore when I was little, almost as small as you. When I was a baby, I would stand in this crib and crow like a rooster every morning." Hannah was quiet and Mooshka was quiet. Carla went on and on. The end. All right, I hope you've enjoyed Mooshka, the quilt story. I hope you have a special quilt. I know I do at home. This is a great book. You can come check it out here at the Niles Library anytime. Until next time, we'll see you. Air hugs. Bye, friends.